We have the latest news from Steelers mandatory minicamp right here on Steelers Talk. But before we get into all the great stuff, I got my takeaways. I got a couple of comments from Mike Tomlin that I think are extremely interesting as well. We're going to be getting into the news and rumors today, but coming up here soon, we're going to be doing and we're going to be reacting to a kind of a crazy trade rumor surrounding Brandon Aiyuk, which is going to be a lot of fun here. Bleacher Report came out with a brand new trade rumor surrounding Brandon Aiyuk. So we're going to get to that here at the end of today's show. So make sure you stick around for a brand new Brandon Aiyuk trade idea right here on Steelers Talk. But first, we're going to get into the latest news and rumors from Steelers mandatory minicamp, which I can't wait to share with you guys here. We got a couple comments from Mike Tomlin. We're going to have my takeaways from practice, couple of standout players from practice this week. So before we get into it here, make sure you go give me a follow at Jack_Sperry on Twitter for additional daily Steelers content on X. I'm putting out clips. I'm putting out interview clips. I'm doing a bunch of great content on the Steelers every single day on X or Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it. You can go find me at Jack_Sperry for additional Steelers content all week long. So first up here, we got some interesting Mike Tomlin comments here regarding mandatory minicamp and its importance, plus a little bit on Cam Sutton yesterday when he addressed the media. First, we'll talk about his comments on mandatory minicamp, where he said, "I think the significant step we're taking during minicamp is we just introduce more situational ball this week. The closer we get to training camp, the closer where it needs to be more quote-unquote football-like. We acknowledge these drills that we're doing are football, but not necessarily real football, obviously, because of the dress that we're in." And Coach T is absolutely right here, okay? Real football, quote-unquote real football, has not begun yet. It's all in shorts, right? There's no pads on or anything like that, and the physical element of the game is taken away, okay? And you don't really have a feel for how these guys are going to play this season until those pads come on in training camp, in Latrobe, in a couple of weeks, all right? So I think Mike Tomlin really, being in this position for 18 years now, he understands the role of every single phase of the offseason, and he understands mandatory minicamp is all about execution, and it's about situational football and getting that execution down pat. Then we get into Cam Sutton and his comments on bringing back the former Steelers corner this offseason, where he says, "It's the totality of our relationship why we brought Cam Sutton back. I met this guy in Knoxville 6-7 years ago, or whatever it was, when he came out of school. He's a great guy. He loves football. It's probably the totality of our relationship." And then when he was asked if he feels comfortable bringing him back to the Steelers, given his legal situation in Florida this offseason, he said, "Obviously, he's here." So listen, man, when it comes to Cam Sutton, obviously there's aspects of what happened this offseason that make you cringe a little bit with this team bringing him back, and then even Mike Tomlin calling him a quote-unquote great guy. I think that you can certainly have your qualms with the Steelers bringing him back, especially because, his legal situation is still ongoing there in Florida. But at the end of the day, man, I think he does make the Steelers defense better, and I think from an on-field perspective, I think it's a good move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think there's any argument to go around about that. So now I'm going to get into my minicamp takeaways here so far. We've had 2 practices there in Pittsburgh, over the last 42 hours or so here, 48 hours. And I've got 5 takeaways here, okay? Because a lot of the same stuff that I thought about OTAs still hold true, but there are some new things that I want to discuss today. The first being that Russell Wilson really seems to love George Pickens, and he seems to really think that he's going to be like the next superstar wide receiver here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is what Russell Wilson had to say on GP. There's only so many people in the world that can do what he can do, and I'm really excited. I've been fortunate to play around some really special players, and he's that guy. He's definitely one of those for sure, and I'm excited to see his growth day in and day out. Now, I definitely think George Pickens, with Russell Wilson throwing him the football, with Russ's ability to throw that accurate deep pass, with George's ability to win those 50-50 ball, contested catch situations down the field, not only that, but take like short routes, like slants to the house consistently, I think George Pickens could absolutely have an all-pro caliber season this year, especially if the Steelers don't go out and get a Michael Thomas or trade for a receiver this offseason, and he is far and away the number one receiving threat on the Steelers offense this year. Now predict it for me down there in the comments. Will George Pickens be an all-pro wide receiver this year? Give me a yes or no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question with a yes or no. Then we get to my second takeaway from minicamp so far, which is that Calvin Austin III is looking like a secret weapon for the Steelers offensively this year. There's a lot of talk about the Steelers going out and getting another receiver, but it seems like new wide receiver coach Zach Azzani is really high on Calvin Austin III and what he's going to be able to bring to the Steelers offense this year. He's been outstanding. That's a guy that's gone from here to here in the last 8 weeks. It's been really fun to watch. His game has skyrocketed. I'm really, really excited for the season if he keeps practicing the way that he's been practicing. Now, fair warning here, guys. This is OTAs, right? And because there isn't the physical element of the game, safeties and corners can't really be physical with Calvin Austin III, and that's mainly how they beat them when they are in pads. And Calvin, who is a smaller, shiftier, speedy receiver, has all the advantages in football and shorts, right? So it's definitely good that Calvin Austin III is playing well during this period, but that's expected because he has all of the advantages. What I'm going to be looking for is heading into training camp when the pads come on, can Calvin Austin III keep the same level of explosiveness all throughout camp, throughout preseason, heading into the regular season? Then we get to my third takeaway here, and we're going to be talking about Minkah Fitzpatrick here, and it sounds like he's going to be getting back to quote-unquote Minkah ball. Now, what does that exactly mean? We'll talk about that here in just a second, but first let's take a look at this tweet here from Mike DeFabo, who says, Terrell Austin, the Steelers defensive coordinator, said he plans to deploy Minkah Fitzpatrick more as the deep safety after playing him in the box and in the slot more last year, quote-unquote. I probably failed in that regard because we tried to have him do too much stuff. So listen, man, it seems like Minkah, who is an all-pro free safety when he plays that deep middle position, it looks like he's going back there this year, and that only means good things for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Like I said, he's an all-pro caliber player at that position when he's allowed to just read the eyes of the quarterback and just go F stuff up for the opposing offense. Okay, this guy's an amazing player, and he can do a bunch of different things. That's why he could be in the slot a little bit last year. That's why he could play in the box, but he's not quite as good in those areas, okay? So now that he's going to be going back to free safety, I really think it's going to open up Minkah's skill set, and this defense is going to be even better as a result in 2024. So now, you talked about George Pickens and whether or not he's going to be an all-pro. Will Minkah Fitzpatrick get back on the all-pro team this year? Type yes or no for me down there in the comment section, and let me know if you think Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be an all-pro this season. Then we get to my fourth takeaway here, which is that Beanie Bishop Jr., undrafted free agent out of West Virginia, continues to impress. All right, usually when you see rookies out there and they make a mistake and they'll make regular mistakes, and like the veterans will go up to them and they'll give them a correction. But Beanie Bishop Jr. just doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's super clean. He's going out there in the team periods. He's making plays. And Terrell Austin, the defensive coordinator, even said today, even with Cam Sutton in the building, Beanie Bishop Jr. is going to compete for the starting slot cornerback job, which it just shows how good this kid has been and how good he could be heading into the rest of his NFL career. I'm really high on Beanie Bishop Jr. and what I've seen to this point, and he continues to shine as we get into mandatory minicamp. Then another kind of diamond in the rough to keep your eye on here is Aaron Champlin, the running back here, who's definitely down on the depth chart. He's going to have a tough time trying to make this roster with as much veteran talent as the Steelers have on the roster. But Najee Harris was not there for day one. He did have an excused absence, so Najee wasn't there on day one. And because of that, that opened up some opportunities for guys like Aaron Champlin to get a couple more reps during team periods, and he's looked pretty darn good, man. So Najee not being there, it's not a big deal. Okay, he had an excused absence. He was there today. I'm just not worried about that whatsoever. But then you get the Champlin, who's really been impressing in drills and then in the teamwork. Is he going to make the team? I don't know, but he's definitely somebody that's making an impression early. Now, coming up here, I got a brand new Brandon Aiyuk trade idea to share with you guys right here on Steelers Talk to finish up today's show. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/Russ to pick up a brand new Russell Wilson Steelers jersey. And you can help out the channel because if you use our link, chatsports.com/Russ, I'll put that link in the comments and description of today's show, and you make a purchase, Fanatics is going to give us part of the proceeds as a result. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. If you're thinking about getting a Russell Wilson jersey, regardless from like Steelers Pro Shop or something, just use our link, chatsports.com/Russ, so you can help out the channel. I really do appreciate it. So now let's get into this Brandon Aiyuk trade idea from Bleacher Report. Now, you guys know I don't think Brandon Aiyuk will get traded this offseason unless he completely demands a trade out of San Fran, which isn't impossible. But at the end of the day, I do think it's unlikely. But Bleacher Report said that this trade idea right now, the San Francisco 49ers just simply could not deny. And it would be a first-round pick next year, plus Darnell Washington, who is an absolute beast as a run blocker. Didn't do much as a pass catcher last year. The Steelers are hoping that, he's going to be a really important piece to their offense this year. So I kind of posed the question out on my Twitter earlier today. Is this trade something that the Steelers should consider if San Francisco gives them a call? And personally, guys, I think I'm going to decline this offer if I'm GM Omar Khan. The first reason being Darnell Washington. I think that the Steelers really view him as a valuable piece to this offense. He's essentially a sixth offensive lineman out there that's great at run blocking. And that would just give the offense an inherent numbers advantage that could really be used to their benefit. And I don't think they want to even think about trading him at this point in his career. Plus, that first-round pick next year, if Russell Wilson and Justin Fields don't work out, I have a pretty good feeling the Steelers are going to want that first-round pick, all right? So I don't think this is something the Steelers would consider. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are down there in the comments. Would you accept this trade, a first-round pick and Darnell Washington in exchange for second-team All-Pro receiver Brandon Aiyuk? Keep in mind, you're probably going to have to pay Aiyuk $30+ million per season over the next 4 years on his next contract here if you make this trade. So type A for accept or D for decline. That'll be it for today's content, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Go ahead and check me out on X at Jack_Sperry for more mandatory minicamp updates throughout the week. And then also for more NFL content, find me at Jack or at sparedog.football on IG. And don't forget, make sure you click that subscribe button because we got a bunch of great stuff coming your way here. We got a Madden simulated season. We got Paul Skeen's watch parties. We got daily Steelers content for you guys right here on Steelers Talk. It's the best place to come get your Steelers fix for the day. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now.